the Under Armour Atlanta event, which was in Carrollton, Georgia. I don't know why they're hating on Carrollton like that. Pretty fine town. But what'd you learn at the Under Armour Atlanta event in Carrollton, guys?
The first camp I've covered, and best I can tell, like 8 years. And had a good time, man. It was good seeing some old faces. And, I mean, just a loaded camp, man. I mean, I was constantly looking like, who was that D lineman? Who was that D lineman? There were guys there that were ranked inside the top 100 that I didn't even know their name. Now, listen, recruiting's not the game anymore, so I get that. But it was impressive, man. There was a really good group there, and as Roos has already reported, on top of it, and Chad Simmons as well, Georgia was the topic du jour for a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I'm freaking
that, Jake.
I'm freaking bushed, man. I'll say that, to be honest with you. I am so tired, man. I was really debating whether or not I was going to be on the show tonight because I am whipped after today. It was a long day, man, but it was very productive. And like Jake said, Georgia, a hot topic for a number of guys. And I'm talking about, 2024, 2025, 2026 guys, all talking dogs. And really, I think one of the things that was a standout to me was because of how consistent it was among the guys that I spoke to, was the feeling amongst a lot of these recruits that Georgia's mentality is the difference maker. And that's kind of the unique factor for the Bulldogs. All these guys said, look, Georgia, super successful, putting guys in the league, but there's no complacency. There's no idea of, setting back on their laurels. They're not happy about where they've been. They want to go further, and they want to continue to push that. Mike Matthews was one guy that stood out with me for sure. 5-star receiver, one of the best in the nation. I think he's the number 2 receiver in the consensus, if I'm not mistaken. But we got producer Palmer over there. I can see him typing away already. But Mike Matthews said that exact thing. I mean, basically that it was, Georgia's mindset is what was so different about them and made them so unique as compared to other teams. And I think that that's really saying something, that not only have they imparted that on their guys, but they've also done that in such a way that it's spilling over to the recruits.
And I want to add something to that. Having not done this for a while and having not held a recorder in front of a recruit's face and, talk to them and watch them talk about Georgia, it's almost odd to hear them say the same things about Georgia that I used to hear kids say about Alabama.
It's very interesting that you say that, because I kind of knew where you might be going with that when you started talking about it. But yeah, it's a lot's changed in 8 years, and it's the same thing you used to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like,
what are some of the things that you hear?
Well, you used to hear you talk to the guys, hey, Alabama's Alabama. They win championships. You hear the same thing about Georgia. And it's weird to hear that. I think I've read it. I think I've read it in some stories here and there. Not on Reddit, but I've read it. And there you see it, but it's just different when you see a kid kind of make that like, hey, like it's undeniable. They left no doubt, like Kirby said. To hear those guys just kind of be like, hey, Georgia's Georgia, man. They just win championships. They got it rolling over there. This, Coach Kirby Smart, or Coach Kirby or whatever they call him. I mean, it was pretty cool to see that today. And there were some freak show talents there. I mean, there were to me, the number one talent that I saw in attendance. Now I did duck out a little bit before the skill guys got really cranked up. But that Sanders kid out of Chris Beals High School from Charlotte is probably one of the I can't remember his first name's
David.
David. Yeah, I knew it was a biblical name. King David Sanders.
Daniel.
I mean, he sounds like he runs a law firm.
Hezekiah, Jedediah.
Yeah. Hey man, yes, dude. This cat, unicorn.
I really liked what you had to say, which is that this kid might not know how to play football yet, but he's impressive as hell already.
Yeah, he's just beating everybody. I don't even know if he knows how to play football yet.
Number two prospect in the class of 2025. Georgia, a huge player there right now as it sits. primarily because of that work.
What's his name?
Chris Field. David Sanders.
David Sanders Jr. Yep.
Sounds like a NASCAR driver.
Yeah, kind of. And he's on the small side in terms of weight. He's about 6'6", but he carries about 250, 260. Yeah, I mean, at most, I think they technically got him weighed in today at 250. And I'm not normally big on those types of tackles. Like I've seen over the years them take shots at guys who just couldn't bust 285. They're not made of the same stuff I'm made of. I guarantee you. If I wanted to get above 285 at 5'10", I could get there in like a month, but they can't get there, sadly. But this cat right here, and also I was also just incredibly impressed. He's got like 3 younger sisters that were there with him today. His whole family was there. They seem like the nicest, most awesome people in the world. But that cat right there, he's you'll see that face right there looking a lot older, maybe with some hair on it, in about 5-6 years, 4 or 5 years. Holding up a jersey with Roger Goodell or whoever the NFL commissioner is.
Was it him? I can't remember who you tweeted about, but you said that the hype about South Carolina was overblown. Was that Sanders or somebody else?
That was it's a guy that South Carolina leads for in the RPM. Jordan Ross. Yeah, South Carolina, I believe, leads for Jordan Ross in the RPM. Looks like that's going to be a Georgia-Tennessee battle for right now, with Alabama kind of climbing into it, with him being from very close to there. I think that late offer might be hurting Alabama a little bit there, maybe like it hurt Georgia in the beginning a little bit with Justin Green from over at Mountain View, who was also a beast to deal with today. So learned a lot about Georgia's recruiting efforts in this coming class, and also learned a lot about Carrollton High School and that set up over there.
Son, they got it going on. That's a mini college over there.
Yeah.
I mean, there are JUCO guys that are suffering in places that look way worse than that, for sure.
100.
They're going to try to go to Carrollton High School for their JUCO year and rehab their career, and then get picked up by a Power 5 school. Is that allowed?
No, I bet when Ed Dudley was there, he would have taken it. I don't know who the head coach at Carrollton is now, but
it's amazing to
Joey
hear.
King.
Oh, is it Joey King?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Oh, Joey. Okay.
Yeah.
Just moving further west.
King Joseph.
Well, it's amazing to hear you guys say that about Georgia guys and recruits saying what they're saying about Bama. I just, I hear that, and I hear a bunch of players who are now not just hearing Kirby Smart's pitch, which has always been strong. He's always put together great classes, but now he has the hardware to back it up. And I can almost imagine Kirby saying, hey, it's just been a matter of time, guys. I knew this was what this program could look like. And that just makes it all that easier to sell it.
Yeah. And it's all in place. That's the thing. And the facilities are right. The culture is right. The coaching staff is right. He's got it all sort of working in his favor when it comes to the timing of how this all happened. There's continuity on the staff. There's an established brand with Georgia. I mean, they won these titles, but simultaneously all of this stuff was happening, to build toward it. And so right now it's all coming to a head. The success is there, but also every other part that kids are looking for: the draft stock, the development, the ability to get into a world-class weight room, nutrition. It's across the board. And so they have so much to sell, even aside from the fact that they're back-to-back national champions.
Yeah, I want the comment by Matthew C. here. I don't disagree about the culture maker. But, let's not forget Scott Cochran wasn't around last year. No offense. I mean, he had some things to take care of his own. I think it's more than a guy. I think it's more than it was started way before Cochran. It started with Scott Sinclair. It started with that 2017. It started with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel coming back is what it started with. I mean, that proved a lot to a lot of people. That let everybody know that a number 3 recruiting class wasn't just a flash in the pan, and Georgia just kind of kept stacking classes. And, sometimes you need some breaks to get where you want to go. Georgia didn't get those in like 18 and 19. Obviously didn't get those in 20. And, a little luck along the way. I keep saying it, but, tried to run Stead off and he wouldn't go anywhere. That was luck.
Ro, I've heard from people that were on both of the 27 and 18 teams and staffs, and that Chubb, Michelle, Davin Bellamy, Lorenzo Carter press conference where they all came into that old press conference room where we used to meet in their football pants and shirts and announced that they were going to come back. So many people point back to that day as being the day where they really started to believe, okay, this thing isn't just going to be what this 2016 season was. There's bigger potential here.
And if you had sat in that ho-hum room as many times as I had at that point, but felt the way it felt when those guys sat there and proclaimed that they were coming back, each one of them individually coming up, you knew that it was something, a little bit more special.